guys, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today I am going to be poking a little bit of fun at a male written piece of advice literature from the internet in a similar vein to what I did with Fair Play. Remember my podcast on that? Because these things are really similar. They don't seem similar at first, but a lot of stuff that men's forums tell you to do are just as ridiculous as shit that women's forums tell women to do. So before I get to that, please do subscribe. I have probably 76 episodes or more that are subscriber only. Lots of stuff on boundaries, relationships, sex, how to get your wife to have sex with you, how to get your husband to, do whatever it is you want him to do, be more empathic. Loads and loads of podcasts. Okay, so moving on. So why do I say, so Fair Play, you can go back to my Fair Play podcast, is written by a woman who's like basically the cure to your marital problems is making basically this crazy Excel spreadsheet with cards and like all this crazy shit and dividing all the housework straight down the middle and making sure that you each know exactly what you're doing and that you follow the task from beginning to end. And only in this way, apparently, can you have a loving and passionate marriage. So I don't know, man. Doesn't exactly sound right to me. Sounds more like a little business. And the way that women talk about this sort of thing as though splitting housework down the middle is going to change your marriage is real similar to how things in the manosphere talk about different ways to manipulate women. So this book is about manipulating men. The Fair Play one is manipulating men into doing more around the house when I think it gives pretty short shrift to things that they may already be doing, including possibly in many cases being the sole or primary breadwinner. But anyhow, so it's basically how to talk to your husband in a different sort of way and the end goal would be this fantastical thing where like the woman even talks about that their marriage is so much better. The husband finally understands how much she does. And when women talk about this on the internet, they're like, yes, my husband had an epiphany about it. Girl, I don't think your husband had an epiphany. I think he's like, holy shit, she's going to divorce me over this shit. I got to sit down with the cards. Okay. Oh, I guess I should do some more, even if I'm already doing a lot. All right. Okay, good. And if the man is a good actor and he prioritizes his marriage, then he'll make the woman think that this Fair Play thing is amazing, right? Similarly, women who are married to the guys that are in the men's group frequently understand that their role is to make the man think that the stuff that he's doing is really great. So what do I mean? I mean that I've talked about this before in my podcast on why working out and acting arrogant isn't getting you laid more. So I work with a lot of women whose husbands are preoccupied attachment, and these guys are the ones who go to the men's groups on the internet and they try to find out why their wife isn't having sex with them enough, instead of frequently going into therapy and saying, why am I obsessed with my wife and why did I pick somebody that doesn't want to have sex with me and really never did, which is what really the goal is of therapy. So if you come to the end of, and listen, men's and women's groups are very helpful, especially when you want people to agree with you, which is what a support group is. But if you want to think deeply about why you got into a deeply frustrating situation, which as I discuss in my podcast, you can get laid one more time per week and it ain't going to change much. Well, you can and it won't. And when you come to that conclusion, you may want to go deeper into why you constantly feel racked with insecurity, right? And anyway, so this is kind of funny. So in my Facebook group, a guy was like, what do I think about the ideas in the men's groups about inspiring anxiety in your wife by, taking her by surprise and like working out all the time and kind of like doing your own thing and kind of keeping her on edge so that she gets pretty much the idea so that she gets anxious about you leaving her and she has more sex with you. What the hell does that sound like? It sounds like a bunch of game playing. Men are always saying women are game players, but what is this if not game playing, right? Pretending and manipulating and handling so that you make your wife anxious. Only the most insecure women are going to respond to this, right? Because here, I'll read you. This is hilarious. So if you go back to my fair play thing, I did some reading on it. Here, this is just right from Married Red Pill, which is a forum about, basically how to get your wife to have more sex with you. So wait, hold on. This is great. Be mysterious. When guys give the advice to just get out and go somewhere alone, I think some people think it is this complex Rubik's Cube of advice. This is a man, a husband, writing who has apparently made his marriage wonderful with these things. Men do, women talk. Let the women ponder all of the ramifications. You can just do. So don't overthink it like a woman. Do what? Go where? Do I tell her? Etc. I will just leave and do anything randomly. The kids go to bed or some other opportunity when you know you aren't needed. It should go something that roughly follows this outline. Man, hey babe, I'm heading out. I'll be back in like an hour. Woman, where are you going? Hold on, I gotta scroll. Man, out. Who knows? I'll figure it out when I get there. And he's giving more funny examples. / to slay dragons, / to pick up a hooker, etc. Woman, hamster, hamster, hamster. Now there's this conceit that women's brains are like hamsters on a wheel. I mean, the rampant misogyny in this stuff is like let's just shelve it because there's like misandry in the women's groups, right? I mean, saying like all men are stupid or whatever. So just like each gender hating the other is an unfortunate thing that we would just have to cancel out from like both same-sex groups. But anyway, and then he continues. Doesn't matter if you fucking drive to the closest parking lot and read a book, or you go to the bar, or you get a hotel room and call an escort. You do whatever you need to do to ensure that you're making time for you. It's healthy and it allows your wife time to miss you. Your wife needs to miss you. And more importantly, you need to have an aspect to who you are as a man, capital M, man, that she is not involved in. If she isn't involved and you aren't spewing your life to her daily, then there's an element to you that she doesn't know, and that is a good thing. Mystery fosters the growth of tingles. Now listen. Now, I mean, listen, it's so funny, right? So, okay, so there's different women. First of all of them know that you're reading shit on the internet and trying to act different. Women are not stupid. They're not stupid. If you come home acting like Fonzie, they understand that you're trying something new, because this was always, before it was like years and years of preoccupied attachment behavior. This isn't like James Bond from the inception. This is the guy following them around trying to grope their boobs, and then who all of a sudden is like, I'm going out, right? So the woman knows she has like two responses, right? One response is, that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't not tell you where I'm going ever. Like, is this like a marriage, or is this some shit that you read off the internet, right? Or else she could be like, okay, babe, right? And then she goes and group texts her friends. He's trying to do that mysterious dude thing again. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how long this one's going to last. Probably as long as the keto phase lasted, So like, don't convince yourself. It's the same as fair play. Will you think that any guys where that their wife brings home fair play chore cards are like, oh my God, I had a real epiphany, babe. You really do so much. They're like, holy shit, she's so upset. Like, fuck, okay, all right. Oh, yeah, oh my God, I didn't realize how long the Christmas cards took you to do. Oh, totally. Right? I mean, it's the same shit. And the reason that I know this is true is I talk to women and they say, like, I have to say X when he says Y. He says, I'm going to the gym. I have to say, oh, you look really hot. He says, I'm planning a surprise vacation, and I'm supposed to say, oh, yay, instead of I don't fucking want to go on vacation because we don't have enough money to go on vacation. So, like, they understand if they want to stay married, they have to say certain things. But I'll tell you, anybody that is trying to act like James Bond in that sort of ridiculous caricature is not getting an honest and authentic relationship. They're just not. The few women that within a long-term relationship are going to get anxious. They'll get anxious if you never did it before and you're literally like, I'm going out and I won't tell you where. They'll assume that you're somehow cheating, and if you're supposed to want them to think you're cheating, that's not an honest relationship. That's not going to get you anywhere in the long run, because the secure, confident woman will say, fuck you, you're going out and not telling me where at night. If you are cheating, I'm getting my affairs in order. What the fuck is going on? Like, I'll leave you first. So this is what a lot of guys don't realize, is that if the wife is not preoccupied attachment, it's very low likelihood that she is, because the man is, by definition of reading this stuff, the man is the preoccupied attachment one that's obsessing about the relationship. As I've taught you, preoccupied attachment goes along with avoidant attachment. The avoidant attachment woman, if you're going out at night, she's happy. She gets some time alone. If she's supposed to say that she misses you so much because otherwise you throw a little fit, then she will. She'll learn to say that, just like the fair play guy learns to say, oh yeah, the cars mean a lot to me, But it's not real. So what you're getting is either an inauthentic relationship with a woman who's handling you truly because she knows she has to respond a certain way to your James Bond new demeanor, or a secure woman who's been kind of fed up with the way that the marriage is going in general will just be like, fuck this. What is this new persona that I'm supposed to respond to? This shit is ridiculous. And I hear women like this all the time that are like, I have to act like I'm turned on by X, Y, and Z because otherwise he gets his feelings really hurt. And so they learn that in this sort of situation, she would be supposed to be like, oh my God, like I missed you so much when you were gone. And in reality, she was probably shopping online the whole time he was gone. So another one that was very funny to me, which was in the same vein, and this is so funny because you would have to picture saying this to your wife if you and your wife are in any sort of egalitarian relationship. So here. Goal setting / leading. You are the family alpha, the leader of your clan. How are they supposed to flourish, they meaning women, your wife, under your guidance if you are unwilling to set aside time to their development? My wife is a preschool teacher. She's very organized and has a solid understanding of early childhood development. What she lacks is the ability to set goals for herself and take actions toward those goals. She says she wants to weigh a certain weight, run a certain time, achieve a certain life goal. But when I ask how she's making progress toward those goals, it's aimless actions, redundancy without progress. I sat my wife down and we grabbed a notebook and wrote down our short-term goals. One of hers is to write a children's book, so we'll use that as an example. I then had to create a rough timeline / map toward her achieving that. Now she's well on her way. Your wife needs you to help her stay on the straight and narrow. If she's stagnant, don't come here saying my wife is unmotivated, sedentary, etc., because that's your fault for not motivating her. And if she doesn't give a shit and has no passion for life, what value is she bringing to yours? If there isn't an answer to that question, then why are you keeping her around? Now, would any man want a woman to think about them like that? No. I mean, it's almost hard to read, I mean, it's so ridiculous. If I said to my husband, I have a goal for my business for the upcoming year, and he sketched me out a rough outline. I mean, I can't even imagine the conversation. I mean, I'm a successful business person, right? So, unless you are dealing in a situation where I don't even know what, either this woman has the self-esteem of a piece of carpet, or else, she's handling him by being like, oh my God, wow, look at that. That sounds so smart, you big man. I mean, so either way, it's not good, right? Either she has tremendously low self-esteem. If you have a wife with tremendously low self-esteem, I guess you could trick her into fucking you. I mean, this kind of gets into a real bad kind of evil sort of space, though, to take a woman with real low self-esteem and make her think that you're going out to get hookers and talking down to her like she's a complete moron and blaming her inability to achieve her goals on you for not leading. I mean, the whole thing is nutso, right? But or or you're making yourself ridiculous, which is how it is in a large percent of the cases that I see where I speak to women individually, and they're like, yes, he's doing this alpha thing now, and when he does this alpha thing, I have to respond in this way, and this is, then what I have to act like. This is stupid. This is shit like from the 50s, like how women were taught to behave, but you're unfortunately teaching your wife that there's only one way to behave, which is saying what a big, strong man you are. I'll tell you something. You know what women who are more confident start to do when the guy acts like a caricature? They start to wish for a more authentic, real human to have a relationship with. That's when they start thinking, what would it be like to have a true partner? So the guy in this sense isn't being a true partner either. He's being like kind of a two-dimensional, like James Bond, dangerous alpha type that he isn't. He's just a person. He's a person and she's a person, So the sort of women that would respond to dread are low self-esteem women who you should not be inciting dread in, because that isn't kind. Would you want your wife to say, I'm going out, I don't know when I'll be back, and I won't tell you where I'm going? No. Would you want her to come into your office and say, you know what, you've gained like 10 pounds, so I drew up this handy little map of what you can eat and not eat, and that's how we're going to get you back to fighting weight, friend? No. You would have to stop yourself from yelling at her, It's super condescending. So Fair Play was pretty condescending toward men. This type of stuff about inspiring dread and leading your woman and all this shit is also real condescending. There are some, of course, good, there's good parts of Fair Play, and which is basically female alpha porn, and this is male alpha porn, word porn, like the Fair Play one is, you know what, woman, show him what you're doing. You're doing so much more than him around the house. He doesn't even know it. If he did, he would cower with his tail between his legs, and he would know that he's not equal to you. And this is somehow a way to get a better marriage, which of course, how? That's nuts. And this is the same exact thing. This is make your wife never know where you are. Tell her what to do. Act smarter than her. No. Don't do that. Don't do that, because anything that leads to lack of authenticity between partners is overall going to make both partners eventually yearn for somebody they can have an authentic connection with. When I do see men remarry, they do not remarry somebody who looks up to them. That is not, or happily remarried. Sorry, because I see some people who are then in an unhappy second marriage. But the men who are happily remarried that I see marry somebody who they met at work usually, or somebody who is in a similar industry as them, somebody else who's kind of like a partner that they would never have to draw out a map of how this person should achieve a work goal, unless of course they were both doing that for each other, which was if that was done, that was conveniently left out of that retelling on the internet. And that they would never want to fake not go to a parking lot and read a book so that you are pretending to your wife that you're interesting and unexpected and mysterious. That shit is crazy. So when you are my kid has this class, digital literacy, and it's examine the source. Examine the source of shit that you read, whether it's a book that's published and peer-reviewed like Fair Play, or whether it's the internet, and think about whether this is the way you would want to be treated. While I'm a big proponent of men and women have biological differences, everybody wants to be treated with love and respect and honesty. If there's ever any advice that you get that it says anything less than being honest, don't listen to it. Seriously. And because you would not want somebody to lie and bullshit you. So then don't lie and bullshit them. Don't try to make yourself seem like something that you're not. Because at a certain point, in a worst case scenario, some sort of Twilight Zone thing, these men are going to be trapped having to be fake two-dimensional James Bond creatures. That's even worse. Honestly, if your wife gets into it, and this is the only way you could fuck her is by talking this like fake Clint Eastwood, I mean, that isn't you either, you know? I mean, so then how are you going to tell her that you have a fantasy of like you being the submissive sometimes? I mean, that shit ain't gonna fly, you know? And many guys want to, like, not many, most all men want to like show the true like fullness of their character and the weak parts and the strong parts and all of the parts to their spouse, just as women do. So don't ever like get wrapped into being one sort of thing and having to play act a certain thing in order to make your spouse respond to you, because you and your spouse are both going to get tired of it. And in cases where you're bullshitting your spouse, what you're basically teaching them to do is that they have to bullshit back to you in a certain way, because it's never that they don't know you're bullshitting. They've been with you for like 15, 20 years. You think that all of a sudden they don't know, like, that you don't have anything to do at night? You know, I mean, like really. And if you actually did get a hooker, which I'm just saying is, I'm just going to assume that he's like joking around somehow about getting the hooker. But I mean, is this really ever what you would want your spouse to think? Do you think that the sex you would get after that would last? It doesn't. I'll tell you, it's hysterical bonding. It happens in the aftermath of infidelity, as you heard on my infidelity podcast. So if somebody thinks a spouse is cheating or finds out that a spouse did cheat, there can be this hysterical bonding time where there's a lot more sex, but that doesn't last. It lasts for maybe a month, and then the person is mad at you. They're like, why did I fuck you so much when you were fucking somebody else, you fucking asshole? That's pretty much how it goes, almost word for word. And you know, they hate you, and you don't want your wife or your husband to hate you. That's why I say that if you're having trouble, couples counseling frequently can help you come to a place where you respect each other, love each other, and nobody has to lie. If there's any lying, or if one gender is put on a pedestal, no good. If it's the female gender, oh, we're so good at everything, we're so efficient, we're so effective, and men just have their head up their ass. No, that's crazy. How could a whole gender be better than another? It doesn't make sense. And the same thing if it's like men are all alphas and women are sweet little, you know, like leadable submissives. No. I mean, have y'all ever met like women? You know, there's like a normal distribution of women. Now, I think what happens on some of these sites is that these like more dominant males get paired with these more submissive females sometimes, and then some of their shit works because they are kind of play acting, but it's like a play acting that they're both into. But for like the average woman, if a man is like grabbing them in the middle, of another piece of advice was to like grab her in the middle of while she's doing dishes and make out with her just for a couple seconds and leave her dripping wet. Now, man has no idea what female anatomy is like, you know? I mean, that shit doesn't happen within 3 seconds for like a woman after the age of 25 or within monogamy, unless she's like, I don't know, ovulating and or thinking about somebody else. But the point is, that's not going to work for every woman. The majority of women are going to be like, don't touch me, I'm doing the dishes, and find it very disrespectful. Like if you were having your yearly evaluation for your bonus with your boss, and that's the one day that she decided to give you a blowjob during the Zoom call, you'd be like, stop. Literally, like, we need to get this money. What are you doing? Stop. Literally. You know, I mean, and if you're the one guy who wouldn't, you're either 24 years old listening to this, in which case, thank you, you're expanding the people who listen to me, or, you know, you're out of your mind. Because that's how women feel when they're even just doing the dishes. The average anxious, exhausted woman at night. So that was another one. Pick her up while she's doing the dishes. Pick her up while she's doing the dishes? Jesus Christ. You know, no, don't pick her up when she's doing the dishes. If she wants you to pick her up when she's doing the dishes, she would have ever told you that she was into that type of shit. The average woman, if she's doing the dishes, you're going to get laid a lot better if you, guess what, do the dishes. That would help a lot more than picking her up and carrying her away from the dishes, which with your monogamous husband would make most women be like, what are you doing? Stop. You know, not the time. And that's high libido women would feel like that, you know? But anyway, so I hope that you got a lot out of this in terms of never, ever listen to any advice that tells you to be anything less than completely authentic with your spouse. I've seen too many people that are just basically bullshitting each other in some like terrible irony where the man's trying to bullshit the woman showing up like an alpha, and she's trying to bullshit him back that she believes him, and she's losing respect for him by the minute, and he's honestly losing respect for her by the minute for even believing it. Because that's the funniest part, is that if you can outthink your wife that much, eventually you start fantasizing about a woman that you can't outthink. So I hope that y'all got something out of this, even just food for thought, and I'll talk to y'all soon.